Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to do a review of Maracaibo. No, Pirates of Maracaibo. Parrots of Maracaibo might be an extension of this, involving parrots and choice, juicy tidbits of gameplay in some other vein or venue. This is about Pirates of Maracaibo. This is a 1 to 4 player game. Takes much less time than the original Maracaibo, which this is based on in a universe, but they're not tied together in any way that you need to know one to be able to play the other. It's a streamlined, condensed, smaller scoped version of you dancing around gleefully and joyfully like a bunny in a blender towards the inevitable goal of scoring the most victory points. So, without further ado, let's just take a look at what comes inside the box. Okay, let's take a look at what comes inside Pirates Maracaibo. With that accent. You always have to use that accent, right? First off, you get a glorious map. If you signed up for it, you will get this nice floppy thing, this playmat. Playmat, that's what they call them. Don't get mad at me. I'm just the messenger. If you don't have the playmat, it's still okay. You can still just arrange the cards in this particular shape. I really like the playmat because it gives it a little grip and it just makes for a nice coherent presentation. You also get this. This is where you're going to do some of your adventuring offline. This is similar to anyone who's played the original full-on Maracaibo will be at home here seeing vestiges and vapors and pieces of that game here, albeit in a simplified fashion. You have quest cards. Quest cards are things you complete. Think Ticket of Ride, where you're going to Ticket to Ride, where you're going to be able to ascertain certain goals, accomplish them, and get points for them in the end. Every player is going to get their own private ship, their ship liner, which they will use to upgrade and beef up. This is the AI's version. This is the backside of one of the player ships, and it has its own sort of customized set of objectives, different than the players get. All players get the same setup on this side of their ship for bonuses that they can accrue. Get it? Accrue? Yeah. Am I motley or what? Anyway, so yeah, so that's what you've got. Everyone has certain of these tokens which will be placed out on the board that offer special abilities for certain times, different cards, blah, blah, blah. What else you get? Well, you get pirate masks. There's a variety of pirate masks. I've laid 3 out here. These are things you can obtain over the course of the game as well. And you will add them to your ship and they will give you a bonus because everything has to give a bonus. This is Super Mario Party-like. Everyone gets a little bonus. The map itself has certain islands that are fixed. Everything else is based on the cards. You have a deck of cards to begin with. That's stage 1, or area 1. And then you have number 2 cards. And they will also be placed during the course of the game as you pick up and take some certain cards into your tableau. We have these for the different islands. There's gold, frankincense, and myrrh. No, there's gold, and there's emerald, and there's pearl. And then these are just used, these are the blah, boring gray ones that you use to upgrade your ship. And you'll also get this sort of handy card. This is where you're going to place your treasure. It's what's going to give you information as far as scoring, so you kind of get an idea of what to aim for. You get a nice quick guide, and again, everyone starts with a quest. There is money in the game. I've replaced it with better money because it's a pirate game. All pirate games should feel clinky. Yes, like Colonel Clink. I know nothing. And dice. This will be used when it's time to raid. When you raid, the value of the dice will tell you how much you get out of the raid in the end. All right, that's it for what comes inside, although we can't go without talking about this handy dandy manual. It's not sold in any store. Yep, and it's got a ton of information, a lot of pictures, standard fare for the capstone game style. You get lots of pictures, lots of icons. This is very icon heavy, so I can dig it. Can you? All right, let's go into an example of play. Okay, let's have some fun talking about Pirates of Maracaibo. Okay, let's do an example of gameplay of Pirates of Maracaibo. First off, this is a overview. This is not a full-on playthrough. There are quite a few playthroughs, both solo and multiplayer, out there, thankfully, to explain the game to those in a more deeper level. I'm just going to go over the surface aspects of it, so you can decide whether this might be intriguing for you, or something to just leave on the shores of Tripoli. Alright, so the game is set up where you have cards laid out, and the card arrangement is always random. The location of the islands can be fixed, although you can have some variants that change those, but in general, these are going to be shuffled in with 3 different types of cards. You've got your location cards here, and these are islands where you're going to go and perform basically similar activities, although the little tiny upgrades and beef-ups and cool things you get to do may change. You also then have equipment, and equipment or ships. Basically, these are things that you can procure, bring into your tableau, and they're going to give you either an instant benefit, a benefit perpetually, or an end game benefit. It's all based on how you want to buy and move. There's also residences, and residences are different in that when you pay the cost to go visit a resident, that is going to give you an end game bonus that you can accrue over time. Because the object of the game is to win. You win by accruing the most victory points on this track here as it goes around. To do that, you're going to have just a large tributary of opportunities and ways in order to push forward to achieve either middle game success or end game success in accruing these victory points. There's lots of ways to do it, not just one. During your turn, it's actually pretty darn simple. You have your ship. It starts here. I set up a solo game, and again, I'm going to play a turn or two of that. The solo rules are very simple. Flip a card, do the action. It's doggone simple. So, when you begin, you already have some treasure on different islands, emeralds and gold and pearls that are going to be there to start off with. You, on your turn, are going to be doing one of 2 things. First off, you move your ship 1 to 3 spaces. That's required. You start off moving your ship 1 to 3 spaces, and what do you want to do on that? Well, it kind of depends on what your goals are. First off, everyone starts with a goal, so let's talk about the quest cards. Quest cards all have a different variety, usually two levels of happiness on how you achieve it. This one, for example, says that by the end of the game, if I have 2 or have purchased 2 of these equipment cards, that's great. Plus, I've also passed my adventurers, the River of Adventure, at least one time to 1 threshold, then I'm going to get 3 victory points. If I get 3 treasures and pass 2, this one involves explanation. You're going to have a chance to move your adventure, and when you do, you're going to get some bonuses, but more importantly, when you cross the Rubicon, Rubicon number 1, you're going to get 4 points straight up. But this quest card also means you've met that criteria to earn some victory points as well. Again, like 1,000 paper cuts to get some awesome victory points. Cross this Rubicon, etc. You're going to get points. You get lots of things. Everything's positive. Everything's happy and peppy. This is like the Peppa Pig of pirate games. All right. Then, or the Daniel Tiger. Anyway, so on your turn, you're going to make a choice to go and land on one of these spots. Now, you have to move, at least one. You don't have to necessarily do what's on the card, but you do have to move one. And you always have to move in such a fashion that when you're done with your move, you're closer to Maracaibo, because what you're doing is traversing this series of islands and places to get here. And when you get here, you're going to move your ship, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. When you get here, you have to stop. And then on the next turn, you go to Maracaibo. Now, once you go to Maracaibo, people finish their turns, and then it's back over here again. You get teleported, magically pirate-like teleportation devices. And then you do it again. Yay! Then you go back and do it again a 3rd time, and the 3rd time's the charm. That's when the game is over. So you get 3 chances, three trips around the sunny beach. So let's just do that. Say I wanted to go here. Well, I'm not ready to do that yet. I don't think I want to spend. I don't even have 18 bucks. I gotta do something cooler than that. I could land here, and that lets me adventure. I could go here, but I don't have enough money. I start with 10. I could go here, and this is only 6. And this lets me, when I raid, I'm going to get an extra raid point that I can use. I'm going to go ahead and do that to show you how cards are procured. So that's $6. These are worth 5. That's 10. I'm going to get 4 coins back, and I get this card. Yay! Happy, happy, joy, joy. And what does this card do for me? Let me tell you. First off, you're going to get 5 points at the end of the game. So you basically just bought some points. At the start of every round, when you get to Maracaibo and back, you're going to get 2 extra coins. So that's a little. You're going to get at least $4 out of this. So that's nice. And again, this satisfies my quest cards, see? So that's how that works. This card is valuable in many ways. And I'm going to get an extra bonus when raiding. We'll go over that shortly. Then I take this card and I put it back. And I put that on there. And the level 2 cards, oh, look at that. This gives me, ooh, an in-game bonus. Cool. So I'm done. I've done my turn. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now it's time for, say, the AI to do AI's work. And the AI is going to have its own choices on what to do and move around. And, for example, here he can choose to upgrade a ship and then pay 3 extra to get any good on the map. And there's some solo rules, AI rules for that. I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to pretend that this was driven by human love. All right, so let's just go over some examples. Say this was a human and it decided, I'm just going to go here. Well, the first thing it does is it has to add some treasure here. Now, why would you just add treasure to the island and then maybe someone else could steal it? That's not cool, because the more treasure you have here on the island at the end of the game, the more treasure that you have of the same kind is going to be worth. So you're kind of worrying about both. You want a lot of supply on the island, but you also want to have a lot of treasure here too. And then you upgrade your ship. So you take one of these and you go over here and you go, hey, what am I going to do? Well, there's some thresholds here. For the AI, it's not so much, but for the player, we'll show you that. You have to start here at this part of the ship, and you have to pick a bonus. Like, this is the easy one. Hey, give me $3. Cool. Then only when you have 2 of these chosen can you then start filling out these upgrades here. Only when you have 8 total here can you move here to the 12 and beyond. And so that's how that works. So you get some powerful upgrades, but you got to work up to them, and that's something you can do. And then also this says I can go adventuring for 3. So follow the arrows here, 1, 2, 3. You can stop short. So if I'm really short on cash, I'm just going to go 1. Or you can go 1, 2, 3. Ooh, I'm going to grab a gold. Grab a gold from the island, put it here in your gold section, and this is cool. The first gold you put here, that's going to give you $3 right away. Yay! You put them here, treasure out here. You don't put them under the burial line. That's a little clever twist that gets that's going to get some mention later as you go on. But yeah, so I've just basically grabbed some gold and I've taken it. Yay! It's now here waiting to be buried. Yay! So that's it, and that's the end of that turn. And then we go back and we go, okay, now my turn to go again. Very simple. Say I go 1, 2, 3, and I want to buy that. Well, that's actually pretty cool because I spend my 4, and what do I get? I get this card. I get another 5 victory points and another bonus. This bonus tells me that cards that I buy are going to cost 2 less. So that's going to help me later. And then I reveal this card, which will either help someone behind me, or the next time I go through Maracaibo, this might be of interest to me. 7 to travel 7. That's huge. And anyway, and that's how you're going to go. You're just going to keep traveling around. You're going to do things. Let's go through raiding. I'm going to give you an example of raiding. Certain islands, when you get there, you're going to upgrade a ship. You'll notice it says to upgrade a ship, so you get to put yet another token somewhere and do whatever it gives you for a benefit. And then you get to roll the raiding dice. What does that mean? Well, it means you roll the raiding dice. And you roll them, and you get 1 re-roll to decide what you want. Now, if you're, say I was really wanting yellow. Well, yellow's fine. Yellow's gold. I like that. But I want to re-roll. Now, if I would get an extra bonus. So a 5 would be a 6, a 6 would be a 7. Nice. I'm going to re-roll again. 1 free re-roll, but you have to roll them all. Look at that. Can you imagine actually rolling almost exactly the same, except white this time? So 4. So I've got 4. So what does 4 do? Well, it's interesting. You can go here, and this chart tells you what you can do. It's basically points to spend. You've got 4 rating points to spend. You can only do one thing at a time, so I'm going to get 3 coins and 1 victory point, and that'll be 3. I'm not going to be able to reuse one, so that's it. What if I had 5, though? If I had 5, I would be able to grab a pearl for free and take it, not for free, and put it here above ground, and that would be great. So that's something that the rating can do. Now, there's a ton of other icons and other actions. I'm not going to go into them all, but some of them let you take advantage of the black market, for example. There's certain black market tiles that you can use immediately when you place them, and then if you land on them in a later turn, you can use them again. There's different opportunities to bury. Burying treasure is another interesting thing. You can, when the time comes to bury, one shovel lets you bury a treasure. Why would you do that? Because when you bury it, you can place treasure on the island. Well, why would you do that? Because yay, now if you add treasure at the end of the game, and there's a bunch of treasure here, all of your gold here is going to be worth whatever's left on the island if you meet the threshold. So this gold right now is worth 4. Now if someone comes along and takes 2, it's worth 3. If someone adds more, it's worth 5. So the more gold you leave out there, the more valuable it's going to be. And then you've buried it, which, it saves it off, it's protected. And again, if you grab some more gold, you can put it right back on this and get 3 points again. Very generous. This is a game of generosity incarnate. Very little scary. Most everything is fun and frolicky. But yeah, that's the essence of play, is you're going to go around and you're going to do these simple little actions to go. You're going to raid, you're going to upgrade your ship, you're going to move, you're going to grab resources from raiding, you're going to try and beef up the value of the things that you grab, you're going to collect items, you're going to do a lot of piratey-like things. And when the end of the game comes, you're going to go wrap around and you're going to get points for different how far you've gone along the track. You're going to get points for money that you've got left. You're going to get points for certain cards that cards all have the victory point values on them as well. So a lot of dispersed way to handle how you're going to get money. If you bury your treasure, you're going to get an extra 2 points even with every other bonus you get. And then your quests, of course, like, did I do the quests? And then if you actually complete 6 quests, well, hey, you get 10 extra points. Yeah, that's it. It's crazy, it's fun, it's frolicky. Oh, and you can, once a game, you can grab one of these suckers, and they give you another bonus too. Like this, instantly gives you 3 resources. That's pretty cool. But other ones might be a little more long-term, like, hey, you know how we were doing that raiding action? Well, what if we had one that was worth 3, and gave you 6 coins? Well, then, had I rolled that 4, and had I had this on my ship, I could spend 3 of my rating points for 6 coins and still get a victory point. So, you see how it goes. Everything blends together in a delightful, delicious harmony of breakfast cereal-like awesomeness. Oh, that's a review point. Anyway, let's get into my final thoughts on Pirates of Maracaibo. Alright, final thoughts on Pirates of Maracaibo from Capstone Games. As always, we go over the cons first, then we go over the pros, then we go over my final thoughts. As for the cons, I will caveat that this is an iconographic cavalcade. There are lots of icons here that you're going to have to deduce and memorize and understand. That's just the nature of it, and there's no getting around it. Even though they are consistent, and they're well-formed, and they're sensible once you understand, it's still a quantity issue. It's still a bar to be raised over. This isn't going to bother avid gamers. Certainly not going to bother the original Maracaibo players, because they're used to even more iconographic representation sprawl. But it is something to be aware of if you are going to teach this game or have a group in the game, and they're generally more interested in more textual reinforcement of the rules on gameplay elements than iconographic ways. So the solo is meant to be a spoiler, but it's not meant to be full-fledged AI or any sort of experience that you would have, which is fine to me, but be aware that it's meant to be a spoiler. So if you're playing it for solo, that's the way it is. That said, even though it's a very simple turn a card, do an action, spoil something somewhere to mess with you in some non-sentient way, there still were times when I was referencing the alternate interpretations of what an action was supposed to be for the AI versus its normal flow than I thought I should have. But in general, Dread Pirate Jordan from Michael Island is no goat. It's just a chump chomping on opportunities that you would otherwise be able to take advantage of. Again, like its predecessor, there's zero tension here. It is the most delightful pirate game you will find, just like before. If you're desirous of iconic barbarity and scary pirates and terrifying exploits and swashbuckling, swordsmen and ships and skulls and crossbones, they simply aren't there. Combat is not even called combat now; it's called raiding, and it's just basically another accumulator of things. It reminds me of one of my wife's favorite movies, shows that she would watch, particularly towards the end of her life, was Death in Paradise, which, if you've ever seen this British murder mystery in paradise, is really, like, nothing's really all that bad. Even the dead people are just kind of like smiley and glossed over. It's so silly, because you have sand and you have the shore and you have, Caribbean music, man, and all this stuff, and then death in paradise. And even when they find the culprit and gather them around to go, you did it, and here's all the 11 facts, they're like, oh, you caught me. Like, that's kind of how Maracaibo is, the pirate thing. Just don't expect, even the black market tiles don't feel all that sinister. Like, ooh, I went to the back and grabbed another raid point. I never felt bad or guilty or proud to have done piratey, dastardly deeds. That's just not the vibe of this game. Just keep it in mind. And it's still a race, and that might be a bigger point for a lot of people. If you want a chance to kind of go around sandboxy like with exploits and be able to kind of feel like you're making your way in a more, your standard conventional pirate-like experience, this is not for you. There's still a chance that someone's going to blast their way to the finish line, leaving you wanting to explore more and not able to. It might be slightly less of an annoyance here than it would be for someone who played the original Maracaibo, because the entire pace of the game is much speedier than its predecessor anyway. But keep it in mind. And finally, I'm going to do a pretty simple, like a comparison of Maracaibo to Pirates of Maracaibo. Pirates of Maracaibo has a simplification past of almost every aspect of the original. There's less in the way of cruise destinations. You just, move 1 to 3, not all around. And there's no dual purpose cards. So before, where you could use a card for different purposes, now, like, this is your singular usage of this card. There you go. It's not a good versus play kind of thing. The choices in my mind are simpler. The card variety is smaller, at least until we get an expansion of some kind. Crew, whereas before I feel like I enjoyed having sort of this crew vibe. It feels more like crew is just kind of a commodity, and again, an accumulator for, triggering things like quest rewards or stuff, and less of a band of rogue pirates. And the game runs more quickly. So 3 trips to the salad bar and salad point bar or whatever, and you're escorted to the prize room to see what you did or did not win. Those are the things to keep in mind for Pirates of Maracaibo. Let's get into the pros. The presentation is quicker and more easily actionable. I could teach this game much more easily than I could the original Maracaibo. Variability plays a part too. You don't have, you might have your typical Caribbean track before, but here that's all just thrown aside for this spaghettiing, weaving location setup that's very different every time, and it does impact how one kind of maps out how to fly across the water. I've mentioned the icons, but honestly, if you're going to have to do icons, despite their sizable quantity, they do stick to a scheme of consistency. They're grouped together orderly. They aid wherever they can. It really is a solid job of wrangling and harnessing iconographic representations in a way that does probably the best job it can to make sure that you don't have to do a lot of translation of what was this in my head. Go check the manual, go check the rule book, the 3 pages in the back that have the icons. The rule book is solid, it's orderly, it's frankly a tad easier for me to grok than the original, so I give it points for that. The AI, despite it being just a spoiler, it's quick to execute, and it has a few ways to beef up the challenge. You've got your 6 cards, but then you have other 6, and you can choose the level to add in to make it more of an impact, a spoiler impact. I like being able to apply my brain synapses to my turn rather than to my enemies in games like this. Not always. There's certain AI, flowcharts and stuff in war games that I will approve of and enjoy more. But here, I just like being able to go, okay, spoil my ride. Okay, let's go on. The quest cards seem to have a bigger impact here, or more starkly impacting here as a driving force. And the fluidity of obtaining them and achieving them is kind of like a ticket, almost likens to Ticket to Ride, really, where you have these quests available and you're building towards them, and then you're like, hey, you could literally get one that's I already achieved that. If I can get this quest card, I've already completed the requirements. Yeah! Suck it, pirates! And so that's kind of a kind of a nice boon. I actually like the beef up in the quest cards as being sort of a nice motivator in that way. Simplification wise, while that may be a downside for others, again, it's a huge boon for introducing the game. Turns are simple. You move, and maybe you do something. Usually you want to. The market is, I know some people have bashed on it for a bit because you can tank it on purpose and whatever, but at the same time, the market is a basic level of genius. It's truly the opposite of supply and demand, where you can greedily take up the gold and the emeralds and the pearls, and you can take them into your, knowing you're going to get points for them, but every one you grab is lessening the value of it as it gets more scarce, which is the opposite of what you supply and demand. But at the same time, it's a balancing act. Like, you'll get turns where you could take 2 or 3 of those golds, and in a normal game you'd be like, well, yeah, the more gold the better. But in this race, like, well, yeah, but if I take 2 of the 3, then I leave that gold there, then I don't have that, that still keeps me above the threshold, and as long as no one messes with me, the threshold of getting 3 points for gold is more important than getting, it's a nice, interesting, simple system that really has an impact on making you double check and not just do, well, obviously I'm going to take as much as I can. Take what you can, give nothing back. Not necessarily a mantra here. And then the treasure versus buried. It's simple, but I get, I like that you get your treasure, you bury the treasure. There's nothing momentous about burying treasure. It's not like, oh, the treasure you don't have can be stolen, but the treasure you bury is yours for life kind of thing. It's more like you bury it and you instantly get more value out of it. At least I mean, everything has its exceptions, but anyway. And the big thing about the game is that overall, as you're playing it, every step is a little micro boost, and I love that vibe. It's a mini energy drink for you and your ship or your explorer. The mini upgrades are, in fact, more boosted to me in a lot of ways and impacting than previous Maracaibo. Like the ship, for example. I feel like the ship in Pirates of Maracaibo feels more fun to kind of upgrade with different things than the original even. I love the mastheads. Those are a keen little invention. You get one per game, you put it in there. Like, I hope they keep driving that forward. Now let's get something into the aft. Overall vibe is, I feel like just like a mini, Mario Party RPG kind of idea where you just, everything you do is just a little fun, frolicky step towards the right direction, and yeah, you're kind of competing, but again, unless you get someone who just wants to race to the finish line and win, in which case that can get annoying. But in general, I do like the fact that everything you do is just an incremental boost, a little shot of happiness in your sun-filled day. So in final, Pirates of Maracaibo, it's an even more straightforward romp through a delightful, anger-free, sunshine-filled opulence of a game of its predecessor. It's more pirates who don't do anything than Black Sails by far. I honestly think it should be called Pirates of the Care Bear Ibian. That would be a great name for it. Now, the big question for folks who played both, its predecessor and this, is what about comparing the two? I like Maracaibo more, particularly solo. But I will be playing Pirates of Maracaibo more. And let me explain. I love a good steak. I will go to Walla Walla Steakhouse and I will enjoy the heck out of a steak. It's supreme. It's nah. I also love a good juicy burger from Red Robin. Much closer, much cheaper. Because of the investment, I can and often will be eating far more tasty burgers at Red Robin than I will be at Walla Walla Steak. But that doesn't diminish either one's relative value to me. And so, if you are someone who really likes the solo experience or really likes the more complicated aspects of Maracaibo, yay, you're going to win. If the idea of streamlining it down gives you pause, like, why would I want it any less what it is? Probably not for you. If you have an opportunity to be able to teach this game to people or get more people involved in the Maracaibo universe, that's for you and for me. So, but when you're in a mood for a delightful Death in Paradise-like piratey romp with a satisfying trail of micro goals and bonuses and rubber swords and Wiggles-like piratey vibes in an hour or so playtime, this is definitely the go-to. And there you go. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.